Hey, beautiful people. Welcome or welcome back. Tisha here, back for Sister Wives Season 20, Episode 5 Kissing Another Man's Wife. This was very cringy to me. We are spending so much time with the feathered people that I find myself being irritated during all of their parts, especially because a lot of it seems so ridiculous to me. Cody, the bald eagle Brown, is the last person who should be talking about being chaste or what Aurora, who is in her 20s, should be doing with her boyfriend. Sir, you are the same person who was dating another woman while married to three others. You are the same person who, admittedly, in last season, let us know that you sampled somebody else's cookie in college before you even married Meri. You have no right to be preaching about chastity when you yourself are not and did not do that. It would be a completely different situation if he was honest about it, but he's a liar. We saw you and your bird doing the opposite of that on our screens. We saw you kissing her multiple times before you got married. We saw you more than likely spending the night at her home because if you didn't have money to purchase tires for a vehicle, I'm sure you didn't have money to drive 5 hours away and spend those weekends at a hotel. Where were you sleeping? So don't sit here and say, oh, we're much older and all these other things and we still were pure. No, you weren't. I refuse to believe that lie. But go ahead and do me a favor and hit the like button as we jump into this. And let me know, what are y'all rating it on a scale of 0 to 5? What's your rating? I'm giving it a 2. And the only reason I'm giving it a 2 is because of the scenes with Janelle, Christine, and those kids. I really feel like we should have got more of that and less of the feather people. So it's Christmas time for all. We begin in Parowan with Meri and Jen. They head out for brunch. Now, Meri, we find out, is still in contact with Logan. That wasn't a surprise to me. We know Meri was invited to his wedding, and we also know that, he's had pictures on his Instagram as well as hers of the two of them together. They are still in contact. Now, he asks for her candy cane recipe because it is a tradition that he wants to continue with his family. The person that she hasn't heard from is Cody. At this point, no movement has happened at Pooville, and Meri feels like Christine signing over the property to Cody shouldn't have happened without their input. My thoughts on this: I do feel like Meri did Christine, not Meri, get your thoughts together, girl. I do feel like Christine did Meri and Janelle dirty with that whole house thing by just giving it away to, in essence, Baldy and his bird, especially because at that point, correct me if I'm wrong, her home was her home. Like, her name was the only name on that mortgage because he had to take it off in order to purchase his nest with the bird. So with his name not being up there, I feel like she didn't even need to give him anything. I think that she just wanted out, and it made it easier for her to do that so that she could leave without him trying to hold her back. But in doing so, she screwed the other ladies. Now, if I remember correctly, she did say that she regretted that in her book, that maybe she could have handled it a different way. But correct me if I'm wrong, because with reading so many different books and with hearing all the different stories and lies they tell us, I sometimes get things mixed up. Now, Jen basically wants to know, at what point is Meri going to stop being this nice person? At what point is she going to tap into her dark side and get her share? Because Cody has proven that he is a jerk. And Meri says, you're right, I'm going to give it 6 weeks. And then if nothing happens, I'm gonna, sick my lawyers on him. So she gives her things to say to him, like, where's my money? And she repeats them. Later on, we see Meri and Jen. They're going to New York because Meri has some business there. I don't know what type of business she had there. Maybe that's when she was filming, or yeah, anyway, she has some type of business there. So she asks Jen to come along. She says that even now she is still learning things about herself, like things that she didn't know or things that she forgot about herself. We see them later that night. She wanted to go ice skating, but it was rainy and stuff. So instead, they played excuse me, in a ball pit. And while that's going on, we get a little bit of real commentary, which is that when Jen met Meri, Jen encouraged Meri to do some things for herself, to take some time for herself. Meri had never really been anywhere, and when she did, it wasn't alone. So she told her she should, go out somewhere by herself, kind of branch out. Cody didn't know that Meri was even going to some of these places or taking these trips because Cody wasn't around her. Meri says when it comes to all of these people, that Jen was her only support system. And Christine kind of is like, yeah, I can see that. I'm glad she had Jen because they had already, parted ways at that point. But it's clear to me that Jen is her family. Jen's like, I just wanted you to be empowered. I think that this is something that Meri is still working on. I think there are parts of Meri that it makes it hard for some of the viewers to root for her because she's so candid at times. And because of that whole catfish thing, people don't know when to believe her. She also sometimes comes across as having a I'm better than you attitude. But I really, really feel like at her core, Meri is a softie. I think that she built up this wall, as she talks about, because of the things that she went through, not just in childhood, but in being with Cody. Because how did she go from, in their book, being someone who was shy to being like a tyrant? Y'all tell me what you think. So Janelle and crew are beginning their pre-holiday celebration. McKelty, Tony, and their kids are coming. Peyton is there. Savannah is there, and they're making their own traditions. Christine, David, and Truly arrive as well. As they're entering, Christine makes a bet with David about this cannonball that is sitting outside there because she thought it was real. David did not think it was. They bet $5. She does this gross thing. I don't know if she really spit in her hand, but when she acted like she did, I kind of gagged a little bit. But she did that and shook his hand. And then she comes inside, and Caleb lets them know it's not a cannonball. It's actually something that they created in that shape that was made like at one of the mines or something. Um, and Janelle and Maddie thought it was a cannonball. So Christine says for her and Janelle, she's looking forward to this, that her and Janelle really became friends once they lived in Flagstaff, and after they left, they chose to still be sister wives. So we see them making new Christmas memories with their grandkids. We see how excited the grandkids are, intermingling with each other and putting ornaments on the tree. And it's just really, really sweet. It reminds me of the old school Browns and some of the parts that I used to love to see with them. So David is trying to hook Janelle up. He wants her to find a guy, and he's like, look, we can go on Farmers of America website or whatever the name of the website is, and I can find you a guy with a six-pack, Janelle. And they laugh about it. But Janelle wants no parts. She is enjoying her time away from a needy man. I'm not going to go into detail about the whole needy man situation. We already know that Cody is very particular. Um I personally feel like I get that they want Janelle to be happy, but right now I feel like Janelle is just trying to decompress because not only has she left her marriage, but she also lost her son. And that's a lot to process. She's learning how to navigate through grief on top of everything else. I don't think she's worried about a guy right now. Not only that, not everyone wants to rush into something else. Some people really are okay with being by themselves. We know one of Christine's goals was to actually be married. Like she was hoping that she would find someone else. And Janelle, like that has always been the furthest thing from her mind. So back at the house, the family gets ready to decorate cookies. They get on the subject of natural remedies because they're talking about how they realized being in Maddie's house that there's probably healthier options because Maddie doesn't do artificial dyes for her kids. And Janelle lets us know that, they do a lot of natural remedies because at various points when they were together as a family, there were instances where her children or other children in the family did not have insurance coverage. She said that Utah is very strict, and a lot of plural families struggle to get insurance because of how strict they are with things, to the point where her insurance lapsed. And we know that Madison had that ruptured appendix, and Janelle had to pay for that out of pocket by herself. And it took forever to pay that. They pick and choose, or I should say, Cody picks and chooses when they're willing to tap into family funds, because we know that Christine had to pay for some procedures for her kids on her own, and we know that Janelle did too. But I don't recall that being a thing for the bird. Y'all correct me down below if I'm wrong. So we see everyone begin to decorate their cookies, and this is something that they want to make a permanent tradition. Janelle was like, I always want to do this, but I didn't think we did this. And then one of the kids was like, I think it was Maddie, was like, yeah, we did do it. We used to do it with Robin. But what they did was they did it after Thanksgiving and they watched movies. We know that Meri was the pajama guru, but she also did the whole peppermint thing. And at Maddie's, they do cookies for Santa and carrots for the reindeer. So Christine then lets us know that once she left the family, that she immediately dropped a lot of the traditions from Christmas. I personally feel like it's a little selfish just because you already uprooted them and it was a lot for Truly, so you should have kept some of those. I get you may be eliminating some because of your older kids, but you should have given Truly the option, or whoever was in the home with you when they came, if they still wanted to do those things. But she does say that she did realize that she needed to incorporate some traditions because the kids missed it. I had to take a deep breath because, y'all, the rest of my notes, I think, are all about the Feathered Crew. So back in Flagstaff, the Feathers are surrounded by boxes. They are in one of the garages that Robin refers to as Cody's garage. And there are not only a whole bunch of toolboxes, but there's a bunch of storage bins. And it's not making sense to me the way that this thing is laid out in this garage. Now, I understand because they tell us again about how he had multiple things for all of these different homes. But the smart thing to have done would have been for you to get rid of some of the things that you knew you had multiples of that you did not need, rather than bringing those same things over to your new home. The both of them are little mini hoarders, especially because at one point there's a sword or something in this one section that Saul used to play with, and they decide they're not going to get rid of it. They're going to save it for their grandkids, not the grandkids that they currently have, the ones that could actually benefit from it now, because they do have some, what, Axel could probably play with that. I don't know. They have grandkids that could play with that. Instead, they're saving it for whatever grandkids come from their actual grandkids, which would be the kids of Robin. I think they bought this house so they have more room to store their crap. But you tell me what you think. So the next thing you know, we get this really, really cringy scene. Aurora comes into the garage. Like, why did it have to be the garage? Scene, you're going to come and you're going to tell us this information that we already know. Come into the garage and let us know, because we're in the garage and we're so-called, unpacking in here. So just come in here and have this conversation with us. That's not what they said, but that's what it's giving. So she comes in and she's there to let them know that this guy that she's been seeing asked her to be his girlfriend. I'm trying to process this because I don't recall having this type of conversation with my parents when I was her age. But then again, I was also already out living on my own. Yeah, yeah, okay. I'm trying to think here. No, I didn't have a conversation with my dad about my son's father until my son's father answered the phone when my dad called the house. And that's when we had a conversation about him. I was not bringing him up prior to. It was not, "Oh, daddy, guess what? This man," because he was a man, "this man asked me out and whatever, whatever." No, it wasn't any of that. I was dreading having a conversation with my dad about this. But this girl is 22, and I'm gonna try to keep in mind the way that she was raised. But it's just it's very childlike in some ways to me, which is why I struggle to wrap my head around it. And I'm trying to recall. I'm just put yourself back and realize everybody's different. And she was raised in a more conservative way. That's what I'm gonna. Yeah, y'all know I don't edit, so this is a conversation I'm having with you all to try to convince myself of this. Okay, so so this young lady is 22, and at this point, the bird is looking at her like she's crazy for saying this. She tells us, the bird does, that, Aurora dated before in high school, but it wasn't anything serious. And the bald eagle lets us know that he's met him a couple of times and he feels like he's a good guy. But what Cody wants to know is, does he look at you? Does he give you that same look that I give your mother? Oh, wait. That's not a fair comparison. That's not a fair comparison. I said this man is always going to shove his bird down our throats and bring Robin up. Like, he cannot help it. They don't have, if Aurora wasn't dating somebody, they wouldn't have anything else to show us. They've already moved into the house, and the way that y'all went about that was real sketchy. And here we are now. Like, the timeline is all over the place. Anyways, he continues, no. Does he look at you with adoration? Does he look at you the same way like you see me look at your mother? Even if he does, no, even if he doesn't, you guys are married. This is someone who she's been friends with, who she just started dating. I feel like they're skipping a lot of steps here. Like, does adoration come that quickly all the time? No. If you would have saw me and my man the first few times, you would have thought I couldn't stand him, because I'm not, I am not looking at you adoringly instantly. Like, that's not gonna happen in these here parts. But her response to it is yes. She says, on one of our dates, he was looking at me so intently in my eyes that I thought he was going to propose. But it was just him giving me that look of adoration. I said, "Oh, good." I'm listening to her talk, and I just want to know, is she always like this, or is this for the camera? Because some part of me is like, what did they do to this girl? Then another part is like, oh no, she may really be like this. So Robin's like, I'm happy for you, but I just want you guys to take your time and get to know each other. No one is rushing them. You guys are. The bird says, in our church, a guy would ask it, because Cody's like, he didn't ask me if he could date you. So the bird says, in our church, a guy would ask if, he could date your daughter. But these kids have not been a part of your church since y'all were in Utah. The best thing that Aurora and Brianna could have done, since they still live in that house, is to actually find their own way. Their belief system isn't like their feathered parents. So they don't care. I know I don't. Let me say, I don't care about the way y'all did things. It's different now. We're then told by the bald eagle that Aurora wants his protection in dating situations. What about your other daughters? The ones that you haven't protected in real life or spoken to in years? What about your sons? What about your children, period? Let's just say that. It's always so much energy put into the feathers children for the littlest little things, like we're gonna make everything like a big deal, but when it comes to the others they don't matter, which is why they're gonna continue to have issues with you, Cody Brown. So he says they've been through divorces and he knows what could happen if it goes wrong. She is 22 years old and she is just now getting into her first relationship. Y'all are making this more than it has to be. This is not is he good enough to marry situation. She's 22. You're really, really forcing it upon her. So later on in the episode, we find out that Brody, I think his name is coming over, and they're making such a big deal about him coming over to help decorate this little puny tree. So they keep asking her if she feels nervous, like this is her first time seeing the guy or something, when we know that they've gone out other times and things of that nature. It's so fake. If she is nervous, it's because y'all keep pestering her and making a big deal of it. So the bald eagle tells us that Robin is more discriminating than him. Awful choice of words. I don't understand why he would use that to explain it, but that's what he says. She's gonna be watching Brody. While as far as Cody is gonna concerned, he's just gonna be looking for a buddy, because we know that that's what the bald eagle does. He doesn't have many buddies, and he tends to try to latch on to the kids and their people. We saw him do it with Caleb. We saw him do it with Tony. He never got there with Mitch, because I think Mitch was kind of on to him. So he then starts to talk about how nervous he gets, when he comes back from a long trip home to Robin. You must have been talking about special forces, because we haven't seen you leave Robin for long periods of time. Remember, the kids can't be without you for too long. Robin knows that he's fishing. She's like, "You're funny, because every time we talk about her romance, you bring up us." And he can't help it, because he's just so in love. So she gives him a kiss. Brody arrives to help decorate the tree, and he's wearing a cowboy hat. Now, you guys, if you're a cowboy, if you know about it, let me know down below. But I thought that cowboys take off their hats when they enter buildings, kind of like how the military does, but I could be wrong. Um Robin's like, he's a real cowboy. He's building a small ranch. Cody talks about how he rides horses and all that other stuff too. So they take out the tree, and Robin didn't look at the measurements when she picked it up from Hobby Lobby. I saw those ornaments. I know what the Hobby Lobby bag looks like. That was clearly Hobby Lobby. Great place to go. They normally have 50% off sale. Yeah, I rack up when they do it. Anyways, so I'm not Robin. I ain't spending thousands on dollies and decorations. I'm just saying. So they take out the tree. She says she has a bigger tree, and even though she's the planner, she doesn't know where it is, because Cody tells us she's the planner. You're mixing up the women. The bird is not a planner. I'm telling you guys, as someone who's an actual planner, as someone who is very organized, I could tell you where all of my Christmas trees are. I could tell you where all of the decor for the various trees are, down to the different themes for the trees, down to the ornament arrangements, because I have like some pure clear totes, and I also have like the Christmas color tote. Well, not Christmas color totes. Like the lid is Christmas color. The ornament container part is clear, so you can see the ornaments in there, and then the top is red and green. I love the concept of it, but you can't put as many ornaments in there, so my glass ornaments are in there. My point is, when you're really that type of person, You're more organized when you're doing stuff. And the way that they pack and the way that garage was looking and how they started to try to put little labels here, trying to take Mary's skill set and do it there, she not organized because she would have known exactly where the big tree was. When did y'all move into this house? How much time has passed since they moved into that house and since they're getting ready for Christmas? So we get a bunch of nice shots as Cody's bending down to pull out different decor of the nice headband ball spot that's in the middle of his head. Cody, it's getting worse and worse, and you need to like let it go or at least put some spray up there that matches because baby, I just kept giggling every time he bent down and I saw that spot. Robin, you don't love that man because you would tell him to let it go. Um, we get we get to see them have cringy conversations. Cody tells Brody that it's his job to protect his daughter, that you even need to protect her from yourself. Now, he gave her a knife, so Brody thought he was talking about the knife. Aurora's face in that moment was not giving doughy eye like she normally does. It was giving, what in the hell is he about to say? Now he says he doesn't want his kids fooling around. That's what he tells us. He says, when you're dating, you're kissing another man's wife until she becomes your wife. Say what? When you're dating, you're kissing another man's wife. She's not another man's wife, you fool. She may never be married. That's okay. He then says, don't take something away from them that doesn't belong to you. He's not taking away anything. In kissing someone who wants to be kissed, it's not assault. He's not pushing himself up upon her. He is just getting to know her. And if they like each other enough that they kiss, then so be it. Brady, hun, you're not watching this, but I hope you look in the comment section or something. The best advice I can give you is not to take advice from Cody the Bald Eagle Brown. He is not a good man. He has not been a solid father. He, to me, is not a good person. He says, if you love my daughter, then you will love her as much as I loved her mother. And I kept my hands off her until we were married. Now, he isn't saying this to him, he's saying this to us. He kept his hands off of her until they were married. So what Cody's letting us know is, and I'm alleging this, is that he just used his mouth and other appendages. Because I refuse to believe that crap. You sampled that crumple cookie. You cannot make me believe otherwise. You did. You were too familiar with Robin when you went to her house and you were walking all through it like you've been through. I know what that walk looks like. I know what the I've been there, done that looks like. You were too comfortable in her house when y'all were just dating. So Aurora says that Brody doesn't even realize, Brody doesn't even realize what her father is talking about. He just thinks that he's talking about overall protection when she realized he's talking about sex and stuff. Um he says he's more discriminating now than he was with Tony, Mitch, and Caleb because of his divorces. So he's going to be watching. We see Brody get invited to Christmas. Am I saying his name right? Oh, yeah. Um, he says he'll come. He wants to spend time with his special girl. And then Cody tries to push up on Robin and do the same thing. And then Solomon steps in like, she's my girl. I said, okay, Solomon, you better speak. Then we hear again about how careful Robin is when it comes to affection. I don't think Robin was careful at first. I think that over the years that people saw the differences in Cody's demeanor with her, the way that he showed up for her, the way he was with her when they filmed in their house, there were clear differences. She got tired of hearing about it, and that's when she kind of switched it up. I also feel like she kind of got tired of him because the way he always needs like that affection, and it's supposedly not something that comes natural to her, she kind of sometimes looks like she's cringing while he's embracing her, or like, oh my God, let me just give him a peck so he could get off of me. That's what it's giving. He is very much so more into her than she's into him. And then we end in North Carolina with Christine wanting to do Christmas carols. So they sing We Wish You a Merry Christmas. And it goes from them doing it together to them singing it in their confessionals. And Janelle is the only one who isn't singing it because she's holding up a sign that has the words to We Wish You a Merry Christmas on it, because Janelle isn't into carols. Christine says that she does wish that the bald eagle got along better with his kids. And that's how it ends. I'm surprised this was 30 minutes. Um, True honesty, I'm still bored. I think out of the full length of this episode, about maybe 15 minutes of it I enjoyed. The rest y'all could have kept. If there's something that you wanted to talk about that I missed, feel free to put it down in the comment section. Like the video as it helps the channel. And if you got a hype in you to spare, go ahead and hype me up. We are on the road to, what am I on the road to? I want to say 5,000 because I feel like that's another milestone, but I know I'm so far away from it. I'm just going to say, we're on the road to 5,000. And I and I hope to get there sooner than later. Thank you guys so much for your time. Every like, every view, every share helps me reach my goal. And I appreciate you all. Until next time, say it with me now. Peace.